The lights on the control panel blinked red as Commander Jake Morrison stared at the screen. He had been watching the deep space monitors for 6 hours straight, and his eyes burned from the strain. The Earth Defense Station Vigilance floated, silently in the darkness between Earth and Mars, its sensors reaching far into the black void of space. "Sir, I'm getting something strange," Lieutenant Amy Brooks called from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes that never missed a detail. Her job was to listen to radio signals from across the galaxy, sorting through the noise to find anything important. Jake walked over to her workstation, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. "What kind of strange?" Amy pointed at the wavy lines moving across her screen. "These signals are coming from way out there past the edge of our solar system. They're not random space noise. Someone is talking and they're using a code I've never seen before." Sergeant Mike Taylor looked up from his tactical display. He was a big man with thick arms and a serious face that rarely smiled. "Could be pirates or smugglers. We've seen coded messages from them before." "No," Amy shook her head. "This is different. The pattern is too complex, too organized, and the signal strength suggests the source is huge, much bigger than any ship we know about." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. For 3 years he had commanded this station, watching for threats to Earth. Most days were quiet, with nothing more exciting than tracking asteroids or checking on supply ships. But something about these signals felt wrong. "How long have you been receiving them?" he asked. "About 2 hours. They started weak, but they're getting stronger. Whatever is sending them is getting closer." Amy's fingers moved quickly over her keyboard, trying to break the code. "Sir, I think I can figure out some of this. Give me a few more minutes." While Amy worked, Jake walked to the main viewing window. Stars filled the darkness in every direction, looking peaceful and beautiful. But he knew that space was not empty. Other worlds existed out there, and some of them might not be friendly. The communication system buzzed, and Captain Lisa Harper's voice came through the speakers. She commanded the research ship Pioneer, which was currently exploring the outer edge of the solar system. "Vigilance, this is Pioneer. We found something you need to see." Jake pressed the talk button. "Go ahead, Lisa. What did you find?" "We're orbiting a dead planet about 40 light-years from Earth. The whole surface has been burned. Cities, forests, oceans, everything is gone. This wasn't natural destruction, Jake. Someone did this on purpose." Mike Taylor stood up from his station. "Pirates don't have that kind of firepower." "No, they don't," Lisa's voice continued. "Dr. Kevin Walsh has been studying the remains. He thinks this planet had a population of about 3 billion. They had cities, technology, maybe even space travel. But someone came here and destroyed everything." Jake's hands tightened into fists. "Any idea who did it?" "That's the scary part. We found some kind of monument in what used to be the main city. The writing is alien, but our computers managed to translate part of it. It says something about cleansing and bringing order to chaos. Whoever did this thinks they were doing something good." Amy suddenly made an excited sound. "Commander, I've broken part of the code." Jake hurried back to her station. On her screen, alien symbols were slowly changing into English words. "What does it say?" Amy's face went pale as she read. "It's a military communication. They're talking about fleet positions, target analysis, and something called cleansing protocols. Sir, there are over 200 ships in this fleet, and they're all heading toward Earth." The bridge became very quiet. Jake stared at the translated message, reading it again and again. Words like orbital bombardment and total elimination jumped out at him. "Are you sure about this translation?" he asked. "I've checked it 3 times. These aliens, they call themselves the Kethvar Dominion. Based on their communications, they've been moving from star system to star system, destroying every world they find. Earth is next on their list." Mike Taylor was already at his computer, calculating numbers. "Sir, if they have 200 warships, we're in serious trouble. Earth's entire defense fleet has only 47 ships, and most of them are old." Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. 47 ships against 200 was not a battle. It was a massacre. But he had to stay calm and think clearly. Amy, keep listening to their communications. I want to know everything about these Kethvar, how they fight, how they think, what they want. Yes, sir. Mike, contact Earth Command immediately. Tell them we have a code red situation. They need to know what's coming. Already on it, Commander. Jake opened a communication channel to the Pioneer. Lisa, I need you and Dr. Walsh to study that dead planet more carefully. Find out exactly what the Kethvar did there and how they did it. We need to understand their methods. Copy that, Jake. But I have to tell you, what we've seen so far is not encouraging. These aliens don't just defeat their enemies, they completely erase them. No survivors, no prisoners, nothing left alive. After ending the communication, Jake stood alone at the viewing window again. The stars looked different now, not peaceful, but threatening. Somewhere out there, an alien fleet was moving toward Earth, planning to destroy every human being alive. His communicator buzzed. It was General Ryan Carter from Earth Command. Commander Morrison, we've received your report. How certain are you about this threat? Very certain, General. Lieutenant Brooks has been monitoring their communications for hours. This is real. We're calling an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. All fleet commanders will be briefed within 6 hours, but Jake, I need you to understand something. Even if we gather every ship, every weapon, every soldier on Earth, we're still badly outnumbered. Jake nodded, even though the general couldn't see him. I understand, sir, but we have to try something. Yes, we do. Keep monitoring those alien signals. Any information could be crucial. After the call ended, Jake looked around the bridge of the Vigilance. Amy was still working at her computer, trying to decode more alien messages. Mike was coordinating with other defense stations throughout the solar system. Everyone was doing their job, but Jake could see the fear in their eyes. For the first time in his military career, Commander Jake Morrison didn't know if humanity could win the fight that was coming. The Kethvar Dominion sounded like an unstoppable force that had crushed dozens of worlds. Earth was just another target on their list. But as he watched his crew work, Jake felt something else besides fear. Humans had survived wars, disasters, and dangers for thousands of years. They had never given up, never stopped fighting even when the odds seemed impossible. Maybe the Kethvar didn't know what they were getting into. Maybe they had never faced an enemy like humanity before. The red lights on the control panel kept blinking, counting down the time until the alien fleet arrived. Jake Morrison stood at his post ready to defend his world and his species, no matter what the cost. Admiral Peter Collins walked into the war room at Earth Command headquarters. The large table in the center was surrounded by the most important military leaders from every nation on Earth. Their faces looked tired and worried. Everyone knew why they were here. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the front of the room, a holographic display showing the alien fleet behind him. Red dots moved slowly across the star map, each one representing a Kethvar warship heading toward Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Collins began, we face the greatest threat in human history. Commander Morrison will brief you on what we've learned. Jake cleared his throat and looked around the room. The Kethvar Dominion has been destroying civilizations for hundreds of years. They don't negotiate, they don't take prisoners, and they don't accept surrender. Their goal is complete elimination of every living thing on the planets they target. General Ryan Carter leaned forward in his chair. What about their military strength? 212 warships, all larger, and more advanced than anything in our fleet. Their weapons can crack a planet's surface from orbit. Based on what Captain Harper found on that dead world, they will bombard Earth until nothing lives. The room became very quiet. Everyone understood the math. Earth's combined military forces had never faced anything like this before. Lieutenant, Amy Brooks entered the room carrying a thick folder of papers. She had been working for 3 days straight, barely sleeping, trying to understand more about the alien communications. Commander, she said quietly, I've found something important in their messages. Jake nodded for her to continue. The Kethvar don't see themselves as conquerors or killers. They believe they're performing a sacred duty. They call it bringing order to the chaos of lesser species. In their minds, They're helping the galaxy by removing what they consider inferior life forms. Admiral Collins frowned. They think they're doing us a favor by killing us? Yes, sir. And there's something else. I've studied their records of previous conquests. Every species they encountered either tried to surrender immediately or put up weak resistance before giving up. The Kethvar have never fought a real war. Dr. Nina Rodriguez, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, spoke up from her seat. That's interesting. What do you mean by real war? Amy looked at her notes. The civilizations they destroyed were either primitive tribes or peaceful societies that believed in negotiation over fighting. None of them had extensive military histories. None of them fought back with everything they had. Jake suddenly understood where Amy was going with this. You're saying they've never encountered a species like humanity? Exactly. Commander, humans are the only species in our solar system that survived to develop space travel. We eliminated or outlasted every other intelligent life form on Earth through millions of years of evolution and warfare. We're not like the peaceful races the Kethvar have been destroying. General Carter stood up and walked to the star map. But that doesn't change the fact that they outnumber us 5-1. Maybe it does, Jake said slowly. An idea was forming in his mind, something that seemed crazy but might be their only chance. What if we don't try to fight them in space? What do you mean? Admiral Collins asked. What if we send them a message instead? A warning. The room erupted in confused voices. Several generals started talking at once, questioning Jake's sanity. You want to negotiate with aliens who don't negotiate? General Carter asked. No, sir, I want to educate them. Dr. Rodriguez looked interested. Explain. Jake moved to the holographic display and began changing the image. Instead of showing the alien fleet, it now displayed scenes from human history, battles, wars, and conflicts from every era. The Kethvar think they know what they're facing. They expect us to act like every other species they've encountered. But what if we show them exactly what humans are like when we're fighting for survival? Lieutenant Amy Brooks suddenly smiled. You want to send them our military history? All of it. Every war, every battle, every time humans refused to give up even when defeat was certain. Show them what happens when you back a human into a corner. Admiral. Collins looked skeptical. You think our history will scare them away? I think our history will make them reconsider whether conquering Earth is worth the cost. Dr. Rodriguez was nodding now. It's actually brilliant. The Kethvar make decisions based on logic and efficiency. If we can convince them that victory against Earth would cost them too much, they might choose to find an easier target. But what makes you think they'll even listen to our message? General Carter asked. Amy answered. Because they always study their targets before attacking. I've seen it in their communications. They spend weeks analyzing each world's defenses, population, and technology. They'll read anything we send them. Jake turned back to the group. We gather everything. World War I, World War II, Vietnam. Every conflict where humans fought against impossible odds and kept fighting anyway. We show them the siege of Stalingrad, where soldiers fought in the ruins of their city for months. We show them the Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans held off thousands of enemies. We show them every time humans chose death over surrender. And we make sure they understand, Dr. Rodriguez added, that humans become more dangerous when they're desperate, not less dangerous. Admiral Collins was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally he spoke. It's insane, but it might be our best option. How long would it take to put together this message? Give us 48 hours, Jake said. Amy can handle the technical side of the transmission. Dr. Rodriguez can help us select the right historical examples. We need to craft a message that will make the Kethvar stop and think. What kind of message? General Carter asked. Jake looked around the room at all the worried faces. These were some of the smartest military minds on Earth, and they were all looking to him for hope. We tell them the truth. We tell them that they've never fought a species like humanity before. We tell them that we know they don't accept surrender, and that's fine with us because we weren't planning to surrender anyway. We tell them that Earth is not just another world they can conquer easily. Amy was already taking notes, her mind working on the technical details. I can embed the historical data directly into the message. Video footage, battle statistics, casualty reports, everything. Make sure they see the footage from our worst battles, Jake continued. Show them. Humans fighting with broken weapons, wounded soldiers refusing to retreat, civilians choosing to fight rather than hide. Show them that we've been preparing for this kind of fight our entire history. Dr. Rodriguez stood up. I'll start selecting the psychological profiles immediately. The Kethvar need to understand that human behavior under extreme stress is unlike any other species they've studied. Admiral Collins nodded slowly. Very well, we'll try this plan, but we also continue preparing our defenses. If the message doesn't work, we'll still have to fight. Understood, sir, Jake replied. But I have a feeling that once the Kethvar see what humans are really like, they might decide that some planets aren't worth conquering. The meeting broke up with everyone hurrying to their tasks. Jake remained in the war room, staring at the holographic display of the approaching alien fleet. In 48 hours, they would send a message that might save Earth or doom it. Either way, the Kethvar were about to learn something that no other species in the galaxy had ever taught them. They were about to discover what happens when you threaten humanity's home. War Commander Thekmore stood in the command center of his flagship, the Crushing Fang. The massive ship was the largest in the Kethvar fleet, with weapons powerful enough to destroy entire cities. Around him, hundreds of other ships moved through, space in perfect formation, all heading toward the small blue planet called Earth. Thekmore was proud of his record. In 30 years of service, he had cleansed 47 worlds of inferior species. Each conquest had been quick and efficient. The weak races always surrendered or died without much fighting. Soon, Earth would be number 48. War Commander, his communications officer called out, "We are receiving a transmission from the target world." Thekmore's forearms crossed in front of his chest. "Another surrender request?" "No, sir. It appears to be some kind of data package. Very large file with video and text information. Put it on the main screen." The front wall of the command center lit up with an image of a human male. The creature had short, dark hair and serious eyes. When it spoke, the ship's computers translated the words into Kethvar language. "We are humanity. We have studied your methods. We know you do not accept surrender. Neither do we. We have never lost a war on our home world. We will not start now. Turn back or learn why we are the only species in our system that survived to reach the stars." Thekmore made a sound like laughter. Typical pre-conquest bravado. These humans think they can frighten us with words. But Sub-Commander Veltar, his intelligence officer, looked worried. She was younger than most commanders, but very smart. "War Commander, there is much more data attached to this message. Historical records, battle footage, psychological analysis. Should we examine it? Why waste time? We have seen the same empty threats from dozens of species. Sir, respectfully, I think we should look at this information. The humans have included very detailed military records going back thousands of years. This is not like the simple messages we usually receive." Thekmore was getting impatient, but Veltar was usually right about these things. "Very well. You have 1 hour to review their data. Then we continue with the cleansing." Veltar hurried to her station and began studying the human transmission. What she found made her blood run cold. The first video showed human soldiers fighting in a place called Stalingrad. The city was completely destroyed, just ruins and rubble, but the humans kept fighting anyway. They fought for every building, every room, every piece of ground. Even when they were wounded, even when they were outnumbered, they refused to stop fighting. "This cannot be accurate," Veltar whispered to herself. "No species fights this hard for a destroyed city." She watched more footage. Humans at a place called Thermopylae, where 300 warriors held off an army of thousands. They knew they would die, but they fought anyway. Humans in a place called Britain continuing to fight even as bombs fell on their cities every night. The psychological data was even more disturbing. According to the human records, their species had a strange reaction to extreme danger. Instead of becoming more willing to surrender, they became more violent and desperate. The closer they came to extinction, the harder they fought. Veltar called up battle leader Zekthon. Thekmore's second in command. He was an old soldier who had participated in dozens of cleansings. Battle leader, you need to see this human data. Zekthon looked at the screen showing humans fighting in muddy trenches during something called World War I. What am I looking at? Humans fighting a war that lasted 4 years. Look at the casualty numbers. Zekthon studied the data. 20 million dead? They kept fighting after losing 20 million soldiers? That was just one war. They had another war 20 years later that killed 50 million, and they still didn't surrender until their enemies were completely defeated. The battle leader's confidence began to shake. Show me more. Veltar displayed footage from human conflicts across their history. Vietnam War, where a small nation fought the most powerful military on Earth for over a decade. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where humans fought against impossible odds just to die fighting instead of being executed. Countless examples of humans choosing death over defeat. War Commander, Veltar called out, you need to see this analysis immediately. Thekmore walked over to her station, annoyed. What is so important? Sir, these humans are not like any species we have encountered before. Look at this comparison. On the screen, Veltar showed the military records of the last 10 species the Kethvar had conquered. In every case, the aliens had surrendered within days or weeks of the first attack. Most had tried to negotiate. Some had fled their planets rather than fight. Now look at human behavior patterns, Veltar continued. The screen showed graphs and charts analyzing human psychology. The data proved that humans became more dangerous as their situation became more desperate. They had something called berserker, rage that made them fight harder when they were losing. They had concepts like fighting to the last man and death before dishonor. Battle leader Zekthon studied the information carefully. These creatures have been fighting each other for their entire history. They know nothing but war. Thekmore was beginning to feel uncomfortable. What does this mean for our mission? Veltar brought up a tactical analysis. Sir, based on human military history, they will not surrender even if we destroy half their planet. They will continue fighting from the ruins. They will use suicide attacks, guerrilla warfare, and weapons of mass destruction against our ground forces. We do not use ground forces. We cleanse from orbit. But sir, the humans have nuclear weapons. If they believe they cannot win, they may detonate all of them at once. The radiation would make the planet useless to us for thousands of years. Thekmore stared at the screen. They would destroy their own world rather than let us have it? According to their doctrine of mutually assured destruction, yes. They would rather die than be conquered. Battle leader Zekthon pulled up more human battle footage. Look at this. These humans in a place called Iwo Jima. They fought for every inch of a tiny island. The defenders knew they could not win, but they fought anyway. It took months to defeat them. Now imagine, Veltar said quietly, fighting that battle across an entire planet, with billions of humans who all think the same way. The command center became very quiet. Other officers had stopped their work to listen to the conversation. Everyone was thinking the same thing. How many ships would we lose? Thekmore asked. Veltar had been running calculations. Best case scenario, assuming we maintain orbital superiority and the humans have no secret weapons, we would lose between 60 and 80 ships. Worst case, if the humans use nuclear weapons against our landing forces or employ suicide tactics against our fleet, we could lose over half our ships. Half our ships? Battle leader Zekthon looked shocked. That would leave us vulnerable to the Zephyrian Empire and the Corsair Raiders. Thekmore realized the terrible truth. Even if they conquered Earth, the victory would be so costly that other enemies would attack the weakened Kethvar fleet. They would win one battle but lose the war. Sir, Veltar said softly, I recommend we reconsider this cleansing. The humans are not like other species. They are predators, born from a world where only the strongest survived. Fighting them would be like fighting our own reflection. For the first time in his career, War Commander Thekmore began to doubt a cleansing mission. The humans had shown him something he had never seen before, a species that viewed death as preferable to defeat. The question now was whether the HFY Dominion was ready to pay the price for conquering such a species. War Commander Thekmore called for an emergency meeting of all his fleet commanders. The main conference room aboard the Crushing Fang filled with the most experienced military leaders in the HFY Dominion. These aliens had conquered dozens of worlds together, but today their faces showed doubt and fear. "We are here to discuss the Earth cleansing," Thekmore began. "Sub-Commander Veltar has analyzed the human data transmission. Her findings are disturbing." Battle Leader Zekthon stood up first. "War Commander, I have reviewed the human military records myself. These creatures are not like anything we have faced before. They do not think like normal beings." "Explain," said Fleet Captain Mordak, commander of the Death's Edge. Veltar activated the holographic display in the center of the room. Images of human warfare filled the air around them. The humans have been fighting wars for over 5,000 years. Not small conflicts, but total wars where entire populations participated in the fighting. The alien commanders watched footage of World War II. They saw human civilians building weapons in factories while bombs fell around them. They saw children learning to fight with sticks and stones. They saw old people choosing to die rather than surrender their homes. "This is madness," whispered Ship Leader Kethal. "Why do they not simply submit when they are defeated?" "Because," Veltar replied, "humans do not believe they are ever truly defeated until they are dead. Look at this battle." The display showed the siege of Leningrad, where humans ate leather and tree bark rather than surrender. Nearly 1 million people died, but the city never fell. Fleet Captain Mordak shook his head. "No rational species would accept such losses. They should have surrendered to save lives." "That is exactly the problem," Veltar continued. "Humans are not rational by our standards. They have concepts we do not understand. Honor, pride, freedom. They believe some things are more important than staying alive." Battle Leader Zekthon brought up new data on his personal display. "I have been studying their nuclear weapons. The humans have enough atomic bombs to destroy their entire planet 10 times over, and according to their military doctrine, they will use them if invasion is certain." The room became very quiet. Every HFY commander understood what this meant. "They would kill themselves rather than let us conquer them?" War Commander Thekmore asked. "Yes, sir. They call it scorched earth tactics. If they cannot win, they will make sure we gain nothing from victory." Ship Leader Kethal looked at the tactical displays. "Even if we destroy their nuclear weapons from orbit, they have other methods. Chemical weapons, biological weapons, and something they call dirty bombs that spread radiation." Veltar nodded. "And they have shown throughout their history that they will use any weapon available when facing extinction. During World War II, they developed the atomic bomb in just 4 years and used it immediately." Fleet Captain Mordak was studying casualty projections. "How many ships would we lose in this cleansing?" "Conservative estimate, 80 ships destroyed, 40 more damaged beyond repair," Veltar replied. "That is assuming the humans do not have hidden defenses or secret weapons. And if they fight as hard as their history suggests, we could lose 150 ships, maybe more." The numbers hit the room like a physical blow. The entire HFY fleet contained only 212 ships. Losing 150 would leave them defenseless against their enemies. War Commander Thekmore walked to the viewing window and stared out at the stars. Behind him, his commanders argued quietly among themselves. Some wanted to continue the mission, believing that retreat would damage their reputation. Others insisted that attacking Earth would be suicide. "War Commander," Battle Leader Zekthon said, "we must consider our position in the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire has been building ships for months. The Corsair raiders grow stronger every year. If we lose half our fleet fighting humans, our enemies will attack us immediately. But if we retreat without fighting," Ship Leader Kethal argued, "other species will think we are weak. They may rebel against our rule." Veltar had been quietly running more calculations. "Sirs, I have found something else in the human data. They have been monitoring our communications. They know exactly how many ships we have and what weapons we carry. Impossible, Fleet Captain Mordak said. Our encryption is perfect. Apparently, not. The humans have been listening to our fleet communications for weeks. They know our battle tactics, our formation strategies, everything. Thekmor turned back to face his commanders. Show me. Veltar displayed a new human message that had arrived just hours before. This transmission came from their military leader, Admiral Peter Collins. The hologram showed an older human male with gray hair and steel-colored eyes. When he spoke, his voice was calm but filled with quiet threat. War Commander Thekmor, we know you are listening. We know you have studied our history. By now you understand that we are not like the other species you have conquered. We do not surrender. We do not negotiate with invaders. We fight until we win or until we die. The human continued. You have conquered 47 worlds, but you have never faced an enemy like us. We have turned our entire solar system into a fortress. Every moon, every asteroid, every space station is armed and ready. Our children are learning to fight. Our elderly are preparing bombs. If you attack Earth, you will not be fighting an army. You will be fighting an entire species. Admiral Collins leaned forward, staring directly into the camera. We know you are powerful. We know you outnumber us. But we also know something you do not. We know the cost of defeating humanity, and that cost is higher than any rational empire would pay. Choose wisely. The message ended, leaving the Kethvar commanders in stunned silence. They are not afraid, Veltar whispered. Every other species begged for mercy or offered tribute. The humans are actually threatening us. War Commander Thekmor felt something he had never experienced before. For 30 years he had been the hunter, and other species had been his prey. Now for the first time he was not sure which role he was playing. Sir, Battle Leader Zekthon said quietly. What are your orders? Thekmor looked around the room at his commanders. These were the finest military minds in the Kethvar Dominion, and he could see fear in all their eyes. Not fear of death, but fear of fighting an enemy that welcomed death. Send a message to all ships, he said finally. We are changing course. Sir? Fleet Captain Mordak looked confused. We are retreating. The Earth cleansing is cancelled. Several commanders started to protest, but Thekmor raised one of his 4 hands for silence. I have conquered 47 worlds. I know the difference between bravery and stupidity. Fighting humans would not be conquest, it would be mutual destruction. The Kethvar Dominion did not become powerful by making foolish choices. Veltar was already preparing the new course calculations. What shall I tell the other fleets, War Commander? Tell them we have discovered a new type of species, one that cannot be conquered through traditional methods. Recommend that all future missions avoid worlds inhabited by humans or similar predator species. As the Great Fleet began to turn away from Earth, Thekmor sent one final message to the humans. Admiral Collins, this is War Commander Thekmor of the Kethvar Dominion. We have studied your species and find that conquest would be too costly. We are withdrawing our forces. May your children inherit the stars you are willing to die for. In the depths of space, 212 alien warships changed course and headed back into the darkness. For the first time in galactic history, the Kethvar Dominion had retreated without firing a shot. On Earth, Commander Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet disappear on his sensors. Humanity had won its greatest victory, not through superior weapons or tactics, but by simply showing their enemies who they really were.